It's finally time to build a budget electric scooter. Yes, budget. I'm not going to be spending lots of money, nor am I going to be buying new parts. I'm going to be using recycled parts to build a scooter from scratch. But just because it's made from spare parts and recycled and I never paid a lot of money to make it does not mean it's going to look like a terrible electric scooter. I'm going to make sure that this thing is going to look like $1 million. Not exactly $1 million, but you're going to say this is a very unique electric scooter and I wish I had one. Alright, so it's time to build this electric scooter. This right here was my first mistake because I decided to buy chipboard to make this electric scooter. Now chipboard is mostly used for shells and stuff, not really used to make an electric scooter. That was my mistake. But I know you're thinking that it was a horrible decision, but let me tell you something. The price I paid for this chipboard was the same price as me just buying a small strip of wood. It was cheap. Very, very cheap. I saved a lot of money and this chipboard felt so strong. It could hold my whole weight without any reinforcement, which I found amazing. But it came back to bite me because it was like, oh yes, it's cheap, but I'm not supposed to be used like this. Now chipboard, it's when it breaks, it breaks. It's not very flexible. It will break. And imagine you cruising down the road and then all of a sudden in half you'll be scraping. It just died to be destroyed. Instead of having one scooter, you'll have two. Wow. Yeah, okay. So, yeah. Anyway, so after I got this chipboard, I decided to build the electric scooter. I finally realized my mistake in the future. This is the hub motor I'm going to be using. It was totally free, which is a good thing. So that means I get more budget. Anyway, this motor, although it was free, it doesn't mean it was in perfect condition. It had water damage and it had a massive hole in the frame, which was a terrible thing. So after cleaning it out and then patching this hole right here, it's ready to go. I don't know how many kilometers I'll get out of this motor, but it's better than paying for a brand new motor. Anyway, so the motor was free, but the speed controller, it never came with a speed controller, so I had to find a speed controller. This is a 350 watt brushless speed controller. As you can see, 36 volts, 248 volts. This is an old throttle that I have, so that's free. What else? Anyway, this brushless motor, it was in a terrible state. All the wires and stuff were totally ripped off, so I had to add these connectors onto the speed controller. As you can see, there was a lot of splicing to do, including the motor wires as well. So yeah, anyway, at least I have a project because I found a free motor. All right, so now all I have to do is I have to put these brackets on this motor right here, right? But what I need to do is I need to drill a hole in these brackets to align with this bracket right here, and then I'm going to bolt it so that it doesn't move around. So think of these brackets right here as torque arms. So I need to bolt this one onto this one so it doesn't move around. All right, so let's get building. This part was a bit complicated because I had to mount the brackets onto the torque arms. But not only that, but I had to make sure that the drum brake itself is mounted to the brackets themselves, because the drum brake is actually fixed to the body, because when the wheel spins, the drum brake actually remains stationary. So I had to figure out a way to mount it. the scooter is done. Look how beautiful it looks. It's fantastic, don't you think? With the nice concealed hub motor in the rear. As you can see, look how beautiful it is. And then we have the front turning system. Wow, it is dialed in. Is that what you think? No, it is not dialed in. It's a disaster. Why? Because as you can see right here, it says custom pine particle board. Do you know what that means? It means I used material that wasn't even designed to be used like this. This is used for cupboards, for shelves, and I decided to hook it up to a scooter. And well, it came back to bite me, because look at this. It started to crack. So what happened is I decided to test to make sure that I did a good job, and it held my weight, but it started to crack. And maybe it's because I forgot to put some reinforcement in the middle, but I thought because it's so thick and beefy, it would be strong enough to hold my weight. I was wrong. And that's what you get for using the wrong materials. So I got the right materials this time. I never got the right materials the first time because these materials are just too expensive. The difference between this and this is like, it's night and day. Anyway, so I got the plywood, and then I got the 2 reinforcement pieces of wood right there, and then I got another reinforcement for the middle, a nice long piece that's going to go in the middle, which is perfect. Let me show you the stats. All right, so as you can see, it's a premium pine, 285 by 19 by 1.2 meters. Perfect. All right. So let me build this scooter the right way. Okay, that's a lesson. Just use the right materials. Try not to cut costs by using the wrong materials. All right, let's do this. Building a new electric scooter, take 2. This is the middle reinforcement. And these are the side reinforcements. Here's the stats. Standard 64 by 19 by 1.2 meters. Okay. And here's the plywood. Okay, here's the stats I'm using. Right, it's premium plywood, 1200 by 396 by 12 millimeters, as you can see. There we are. All right. I forgot to show you the big piece, and here's the stats again. Yeah, okay.
Alright, I got this big piece of wood to use it as reinforcement for the plywood. I'm going to make sure it's centered, then I'm going to drill a bunch of holes, then I'm going to add wood glue, and then I'm going to bolt it down. The bolts themselves are going to act like wood clamps. After that, I'm going to do the side reinforcements as well. It's a bit overkill, but it looks nice this way. I'm going to repeat the process, wood glue, bolts, done. As you can see, finished. The next step is I'm going to disassemble the other body I made and then transfer all the parts to the new flexible, strong body, plywood body. Alright, so the big thing that makes this project successful is the push bike. I just cut a push bike in half, and then I'm going to transfer it to the new body. Very simple, just make sure it's centered, and then add the bolts, and then it's ready to go. Just very, very simple. You don't even need a manual. It's simple. and then I'm going to bolt it down, and then I'm going to add the hub motor next, which is also complicated, but it's a second try, so I'm sure I have the muscle memory already. All right, so I'm trying to make sure I don't mess up, because if I mess up, then it's going to be bad for this project. So I'm going to use the jigsaw to cut the hole. Jigsaw is like a very useful tool. I love it a lot. I'm glad I got it. And then I just add the bolts. Very simple. So I couldn't use the big bolts because they were too short, so I decided to use the small bolts, but I added 3 of them. So yeah, that's a lot of bolts, but it's definitely going to be strong enough. And I'm going to add washers. Washers are very important. I love this hub motor because it actually has a drum brake, which I find fancy. I'm going to drill a hole for the motor wires, and then I'm going to zip tie the motor wires. Next, I'm going to add the battery boxes. For this project, I'm going to be using lead acid batteries. It is a budget scooter after all. I'm going to mount the speed controller. I'm going to crimp all the whole sensor wires and motor wires, and then I'm going to reroute the motor wires to make sure they neat. I'm going to add heat shrink over the whole sensors and motor wires, and then I'm going to wrap it around the speed controller. Then I'm going to add zip ties just to make sure it doesn't move around. Alright, so this is what it looks right in it. That's your volt gauge right there. The scooter is finally done. As you can see, it is quite fast indeed. The acceleration is mint. When I calculated the top speed, it has a maximum top speed of 35 kilometers an hour with only a 300 watt motor. Although I might be overvolting it by 15 volts because a 300 watt motor usually operates at 36 volts and I'm running 48 volts, but I have lead acid batteries, but that doesn't matter because I still have the amperage. It's still going to have a lot of range even though I have a lot of weight, because 300 watt motors, they usually run on a 10 amp lithium battery and I have 4 15 amp batteries. They may be lead acid batteries, but that's a lot of amps. All right, so this is how I made my first ever electric scooter. I just demonstrated to you how I actually made it. In the front right here, we have a push bike, right? And then in the rear is where you put your motor and stuff. So this one is running a 300 watt motor. Let me show you underneath. That's underneath for you, right? So let me explain.
Okay, so we have the perfectly neat wiring that I tried to attempt right there. Okay, and then at the back we have the 300-watt motor. Now the thing that's what makes this 300-watt motor special is that it actually has punctureless tires, which means there's no tube, there's no air, there's nothing. It can take a nail and nothing will happen. So the only thing that can get punctured is the front tire, which is pretty cool, isn't it? Now in the rear, it's quite plain, nothing fancy. We have plywood on the top, and then we have this pine boards at the bottom, and then I have glued them together and bolted them together, and that's how we have this perfectly light, strong body. Okay, and then holding the hub motor in place are these right angle brackets, right? So it was hard because what I had to do is basically, in order for this hub motor to work, it needs torque arms, because the shaft itself, torque is being applied to it, and if you just tighten it, it's going to strip the bolt because there's nothing holding it in place. So what I had to do is I had to put the original torque arms on, and then I had to drill a hole through the bracket and put a bolt, so that when you accelerate, the thing that's holding the torque is actually the torque arms. All right, now we're going back to the top. As you can see, the perfectly neat wiring right here, right? So this was basically a recycled electric scooter using old parts and old electronics to get running. All right, so the only thing that made this project complete, it was the motor. It was more like a puzzle, right? Once you get that one piece, the whole puzzle is complete. So that was the motor. As soon as I found that motor, boom, the project was complete. All right, so this is an old throttle, right? And then another old throttle that I removed the throttle to use the volt gauge, right? And then we have the key right here, and then we have an electronic brake, which is pretty cool, and it works, but there's no braking. It just cuts out the motor. Let me demonstrate. See, if you switch on, if you accelerate, see, it cuts out, even though I'm accelerating, see? So it works. All right, and then scratching it. All right, here we have a 350-watt speed controller, brushless speed controller. Then we have two fuses, 130 and 15. Now the 30 is for the batteries right here, and then the 5 is for the charger, right? So basically the charger itself also has a fuse. And then what else? These are the wires for the motor right here. All the wiring, I managed to tidy it up nicely. And I think that's that. So basically the project, it's done but not done, because I still have to perfect it. It still hasn't got that unique thing yet. But I do say I love one thing, because when you lift it up, if you look, the back is actually higher than the front. Now, yes, it looks like a disadvantage, but when you ride it, you don't even feel it. But the thing I like about it is when you turn it around, it looks like it has one massive wheel in the back. You see? Because of how high it is in the back. Like that, which is pretty cool. All right, so let me take this baby for a test run. All right, so when I said it's not yet completed, this hub motor actually has a drum brake, you see? And this is going to be a very useful feature. So I need to get a brake line to go to the front. That's one. I need lights. I need a cool sound system. I need to get this baby varnished, and yeah, I just need to do the final touches. All right, let's take this baby for a test run. Acceleration is good. So this is what it looks accelerating. All right, 3. You know what? The best way to do a super acceleration is you hold the brake and then you give it the beans, right? And then as soon as you let go, it should give you a good acceleration. All right, 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's terrible. All right. Let's try again. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. When this thing is rolling, the acceleration is quite nice. See? Thanks for watching. Please consider liking or subscribing. I hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching. Please consider liking or subscribing. I hope to see you in another video. And let's hope this baby will finally feel complete once I'm done with all the upgrades. All right, see you next time.